Matt, you're the champion of introductions, I think.
You can't hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm going to have to watch you eat. That's not going to be easy. Because you're going to be more interested in that food in front of you than what I've got to say. So that's the problem. I'm going to have to really speak well. What do you think? Okay. All right. Today I want to ask you a question. It's a very important question. You might have to think about it. And my question is, if you could change one thing about your life, what would you change? I know that your life's flashing in front of you right now. But if there's one thing that you wish you could change, what would that be? Have a think. Now, that question leads us into the whole realm of our regrets. The things we regret in life. Now, I read a survey that was done in a university in England one day on that question. And they asked the students and the staff, what is your principal regret in life? And the answers were very interesting. One guy wrote, I regret having smoked my first cigarette because that started me on a life of drugs. First cigarette. Wow. And I'm sure when he had it, he never realized the consequences of it. Another guy wrote, I really regret having been unfaithful to my wife. You see, some guys don't regret that at all. But others have got a conscience, and they do regret that. See? A girl or a young lady replied, my greatest regret in life is the abortion that I had. I thought it would solve a problem. It created a far bigger one. And there are a number of them that said, I regret that as a university student, I got hooked on alcohol. And we partied and partied, failed our exams, and then couldn't get free. I think a lot of people can identify with that. Yeah. So we're talking about regrets this morning. Psychologists who accompany people who are dying, they say that people who are dying, do you know what their greatest regret in life is? They say it consistently. The greatest regret that they have in their lives as they're dying are the people that they loved that they broke relationship with. All the broken relationships that they've had of people that they loved. I think we can all identify with that as well. You see, you do things that at the time seem good, but then it turns against you. But you can't undo what's happened. Have you heard of a guy in the Bible called John the Baptist? Yeah, a lot of people have heard about John the Baptist. He was actually the guy, the preacher who baptized Jesus when he was 30 years of age. We've got John the Baptist there, yeah. He looks a bit like him, I guess. But it's not John the Baptist because John the Baptist is dead. And do you know how he died? Because in the Bible it says how he was born and how he died. How he died, it was that he was killed. He was killed by a man who was never going to get over what he did. It was a king called Herod. And Herod decided for his birthday that he was going to have a birthday bash with the boys. He invited his friends, all the big important people around him, and they decided to have a party for King Herod, a birthday party. Now, at the time, those sort of things were a men-only affair. So you can imagine all the boys getting together. The wine was flowing freely. They're getting progressively drunk. It's getting rowdier and rowdier. The noise level is lifting. There's singing and there's shouting and there's laughter. King Herod now, by this time, he's drunk. And he wants to impress the boys. And so he gets up and he says, I've got a treat for you. I've got a young lady here who's going to do a dance for us. Now, the Bible commentators say that kind of dance, in that kind of environment, was not just choreography. It was an erotic dance. So you can imagine all these guys that are really now pretty inebriated. This girl gets up and does an erotic dance. They're all really pumped. And King Herod is so impressed with what's happened with this dance and the way that all the guys have responded that he wanted to be the big man and impress his guests. And so he says to the young girl, to the young woman, he says, ask me anything you like and I'll give it to you. And he said that solemnly. In other words, it's like a contract that you sign. Can't get out of it. And he thought, well, she'll ask for a block of land, or she'll ask for some jewelry, or she'll ask for a bit of money. That's no problem at all. But he never expected what she asked for. You see, her mother had it in for John the Baptist because of his position about sin that she was doing. And so the mother said to the girl that danced, she said, now you tell the king that what you want is the head of John the Baptist on a platter. And suddenly, when the king heard that, he sobered up. But it was too late. He had no option now. He didn't want to have to do it. He knew deep down in his heart that John the Baptist was a man of God. He knew that. But you see, when you're trying to impress people, even things that are more important than them, like God, become second rate. And so, sometime later, the servants come up with a platter. It wasn't a seafood platter. On that platter was the head of this man of God. And it says that John the Baptist, or the one that killed John the Baptist, King Herod, was going to regret that for the rest of his life. And that's the problem, isn't it? That you can't undo it. See, the one thing that you've just identified as the one thing you would have loved to have changed about your life, you can't undo it. You can't go back and do a Photoshop on it. You know what Photoshop is, guys? You know, it's an amazing thing today, because before, when you had a photo, you could trust it. Now you see a photo, you don't know what you're really getting. You see, because a photo with Photoshop, you put it up on a screen and you take out everything you don't like. Wouldn't that be great if we could do that with our lives? Put our lives up on the screen and then take out everything we don't like, and everything we do like, we make it bigger. But you can't do that. So what do you do when you've got to live with something that you're ashamed about? I talked about the guy that was ashamed of having his first drink, that started him on a life of alcoholism. How many times people have done things that they normally would never have done when they were drunk? Car accidents. It's a terrible thing what happened in Sydney just last week. Have you been reading about that? Where 5 young people were killed, and the driver, 18 years old, he got out of it with hardly a scratch. 5 young people, 5 families that are grieving today. Was alcohol involved? I don't know. But how many others have lost their lives because the driver was drunk? You can't go back, can you? You see, guys, when you've got something like this hanging in your life, there's got to be an answer. What do you do? What do you do? Because you go to bed at night and you dream about it. You wake up in the morning, it's still in your mind. You see things that remind you of what you actually did. You talk to people and suddenly it flashes back into your memory. And you've got to live with it. Well, the Bible does have an answer. And it's all got to do with your eyes. What you look at. You see, today, if you go to see some counsellor who doesn't understand God and doesn't understand faith, he'll tell you something like, well, let's go into your past and let's try to work out what the problem is. And so he wants you to put your eyes on the past. But have you noticed that the more you look at the past, the more the past drags you down? It's kind of like when you go past a seat and there's a sign, a bench in a park, and there's a sign on it that say, don't touch wet paint. So what do? You touch it. You say, we're going to heal you because we're going to go take you back into your past, and the more you go back into your past, the more it hurts you. So that's not the answer, going back into your past. Some would say, well, you've got to look inside yourself. Well, what is there inside yourself? There's guilt, there's shame, there's weakness, there's depression. So what is there inside of you that's going to suddenly make everything different? It's not inside of you. They say, look down. Look down. You don't want to look down. What is there? There's nothing down there, apart from your feet, or far apart from your navel. It's called navel gazing. You just look at yourself. There's no answer in looking at yourself. So what's left? Look around. Look around. Oh, look around. What do you see around? You see all these other people looking at you, judging you, tearing you down, wanting to get rid of you. So that's not the answer either. The rejection doesn't help you. So what's left?
Look up.
What's left? Norm, come on.
Look up.
Look up. Says he looking down on his phone. Oh, I thought you had your phone.
Wife's looking on the phone.
Hang on, I'll get my phone out.
Look up. What's up there? What's up there? There's someone who is perfect.
Amen.
See, you're not perfect. You look at yourself. Oh, that's the problem. But if you look up, you'll see someone who's perfect. His name is Jesus.
Come on. Jesus.
And see, what he's going to do, he's not going to make you perfect, but he's going to call you to a higher place.
Amen.
You see, you need to get to a higher place, folks. Because where you are is too low. You need to go higher.
Amen.
It's only when you look up and you see him that he will start to draw you up there, and you will not be perfect overnight, but you're on a road that will lead you to him and to his perfection.
Amen. Come on. Amen.
Well, I thought you'd get excited about that.
Yeah, amen.
You know, Luke got excited about it. He gets excited about anything.
Jesus.
Yeah. So today, what I'm saying to you is that what are you going to do about it? You see, maybe some of you got drunk and you did something stupid. Some of you have paid for it. Maybe a very high price. Others, you've done something no one else knows anything about. And they would never dream that you did it. But you know. You've got to live with yourself. And how many times you've beaten yourself up because of it? That's because you've got a conscience. People who don't have consciences, they don't worry. But you do. And so you could look back, but don't do that. You could look in. There's no answer there. You could look down, but that's the whole problem. You're already down. You look around, but that's not going to help you because people will judge you and reject you. But you can look up. And if you look up, faith will begin to be born in your heart. You'll say, oh, Vince, I already believe in God. Yeah, but what's it done for you? What has it done for you? You see, you can find somebody in prison and he'll say, I believe in God. But it hasn't changed anything. There's a woman in the Bible who spoke to Jesus beside a well. She believed in God, but it didn't stop her from 5 divorces. You see, so it's not believing in God that makes any difference. It's the day you put your eyes on Jesus and you start moving towards him that then your life begins to change. And that's what it's all about, to change lives. You see, I can pray for you once, twice, 10 times. But if you're not serious about looking up and going in that direction, all the praying in the world is not going to change that. So what I'm saying to you today is I'm not going to say, oh, come and I'll pray for you and I'll feel sorry for you and let's cry together on each other's shoulders and then feel better in the morning. You know, that's not an answer. See, you've got one chance at life. Your life, the one that you're living, you're not going to get another chance. Some of you have got more years behind you than what you've got ahead of you. So you got to make them count, don't you?
Come on.
You got to make them count.